Everybody, welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It is Mark back with your Champions League playoff preview. And Newcastle have a 2,500 mile or so trip east to the Azerbaijani capital Baku to take on Qarabag at the Tofig Bakrumov Stadium for a place in the last 16. We'll get stuck right into that. But before we do, just a quick reminder to help the channel. Please remember to drop a like on the video. Consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And thank you to those who have already done that. So Qarabag then, the Azerbaijani champions, currently sitting second in their Premier League. It is a real test for Newcastle, but it is on the back of two good away results. Something we've not been able to say too much recently. But with wins at Spurs in the league and Villa in the FA Cup, this will be a different test though for the lads. A massive travel, a hybrid synthetic pitch, I believe it is, and the chance to make the Champions League knockout phase proper for the first time too. There will be pressure for a result, but Newcastle do have the benefit of the home leg being second, so they are firm favourites to progress. The host, Qarabag, are making their Champions League knockout debut as well. They are the first team from Azerbaijan to reach this stage of the competition. And I think this is the first game for Newcastle as well against a team from Azerbaijan. So it's a good first, I think, for everybody there. Qarabag's home form has been the key to their progression, really, from the league phase of the Champions League, with wins against Copenhagen and Eintracht Frankfurt, and a really creditable draw against Chelsea as well. Their only defeat at home in the league phase was a 4-2 defeat to Ajax, which is not bad at all, to be fair to them. By contrast, Newcastle only won one of their away games, and that was that 4-0 win over Union Saint-Gilloise. But equally, they only lost one game, and that was against Marseille, a game where they really should have got a result, bar a Nick Pope, really bad Nick Pope error. But to kind of go along that I guess the theme of lack of wins away from home, which we've seen an awful lot, Newcastle historically have only won 2 of their last 15 European matches away from home. I think it's 8 draws and 5 defeats. But with this tie over 2 legs, Newcastle should have more than enough to see them through. So, and team-wise, this is the team we're going for. For the game, we're going to go with Nick Pope to return in place of Aaron Ramsdale. Obviously, after Ramsdale's game at the weekend in the FA Cup tie. And then with defensive cover really limited, Kieran Trippier really has to remain at right back, because there probably really aren't any other options at the moment unless you were to play Leo Shahar, but I really can't see that happening. Lewis Hall at left back will obviously continue on there. He has been one of the standout performers all season, and another chance for him to put a performance in on the biggest stage in the competition. Malik Chow, and I think this time Dan Burn will stay at centre-back. I was tempted to bring Sven Botman back in for this in terms of what we thought would happen, but I think another game's rest for Botman would be ideal for him, especially with games coming up with City at the weekend, with the Qarabag return leg next week. I can see Sven Botman being available on the bench, but not given, not pressured into playing this one. Obviously in midfield, with Bruno's absence, Joe Linton unlikely to be back, and Lewis Miley again unlikely to be back for a little while, as we talked about on What's Going On last night. It could be that he's out for a little bit longer than first thought. We've gone with a return to a central 3 in Jacob Ramsey, Sandro Tonali and Joe Willock coming back into that. And up front, Anthony Gordon back in on from the left-hand side. I've gone with Nick Voldemort as the central striker, and Harvey Barnes moved back to the right-hand side, where he seems to have played that role where Gordon has come in and played from the left. Eddie Howe could go with a similar lineup to the way he did in the FA Cup, with Voldemort in that more withdrawn role. But I can see him wanting that extra central midfielder, particularly for the away leg, Qarabag. But even with the lineup we've gone for, he could move Willock higher and play him in that left-hand channel, play Ramsey in that left-hand channel, move Gordon central and have a midfield 2 of Ramsey or Willock and Tonali, with Waldemar playing in that withdrawn role. But that's the team we've gone with. Let us know your thoughts on the lineup and what changes you would make to the side. Would you make any from the weekend? Will Eddie Howe make any further changes? Maybe play Wisser up front if he is fit. I know I think I'd seen some reports that suggest he was carrying a niggle, or could he revert to Anthony Gordon as a central striker again, which some want, some don't want. You've seen our opinion. We're not particularly fond of Anthony Gordon playing through the middle. As good as his press might be, that it's the goal outcome that counts, and we keep talking about it. One open play goal in particularly in the Premier League in over a year is an awful return for a player of his caliber. He's been better in the Champions League, and he has scored 6 goals in the Champions League phase, in the league phase. So we'll want to continue that form. He is Newcastle's joint top scorer in Champions League history, level with Shearer on 6, and he's one ahead of teammate Harvey Barnes. Only Mbappe, Kane, and Erling Haaland have scored more than Anthony Gordon in this season's Champions League. And with his 2 assists as well, I think he sits joint second overall in total contributions behind Kylian Mbappe. In terms of Qarabag's form, they've won their last 2 domestic league games. I think they got a 2-1 win against, I think it's Shamaki, and I apologise for the pronunciations, and a 1-0 win over Milmugan. They currently sit second in the league, just a point behind the league leaders, Sabah, though. However, in the Champions League, their last game was a trip to Liverpool, and it didn't go particularly well for them, losing 6-0 at Anfield. And obviously, they'd already done their hard work. They'd already got their wins and their draw at home to give them enough points to get through to the playoff phase. So they've done a really good job, and it's been. They've been a fun watch in the Champions League. I'll not pretend to have watched an awful lot of them outside of that, but they've done all right in their Champions League games. In terms of their lineup, against Liverpool, they played Kachalski in goal, a back 4 of Silva, Mustaf Azadeh. Again, I apologise for the pronunciations. Medina and Kafar Guliev, with 2 sort of defensive midfielders, and Bikalo and Jankovic. Ahead of them, Leandro Andrade, I think, is one of their more star players, Montiel and Zubia, with Camilo Duran as the centre forward. And I think the only difference between that side and their last league game was the goalkeeper, Fabian Buntic, coming in their last league game and playing instead of Kachalski, who, interestingly, I kept referring to as Kachansky earlier on. I may have just said that again. So a little small reference of Red Dwarf there for any Red Dwarf fans in the comments. In terms of their players, their approach, like I say, I'll be honest, I don't know an awful lot about them outside of what I've seen in the Champions League. I think a lot of us would be lying if we said we did. I can't really say the Azerbaijani Premier League is up there on my go-to leagues to watch each week, and so you'll have to forgive me for that. And if the Azerbaijani League is a good watch, then I'm happy to stand corrected. From the little I have watched, they like Newcastle like to play high intensity game. They press well. They like to counter quickly, and their form in Europe has probably been part due to that style. Much like Newcastle's has suited them in the league phase, it's very much suited Qarabag as well. That fast pace certainly helped them in their 3-2 win over Frankfurt, and could be used to get at Newcastle's backline too, especially with the pace not being among Kieran Trippier or Dan Burns' key strengths. But I think Newcastle have enough there to keep them quiet. They do have some technical players, the likes of Leandro Andrade, like I say, I think is more of their star player, and he and Girana have 10 goals between them in the Champions League qualifying and league phase. Duran opened the scoring in Qarabag's last 2 home Champions League games too. He scored twice against Frankfurt. And interesting, I think it was one of their centre backs that scored the winner in the last couple of seconds as well. So they are a threat. We'll not write them off completely. In terms of their player availability, I think they only appear to be missing one player in their goalkeeper. I think it's Sharudin Mamadaliev. Again, apologies if that's not the correct pronunciation. He's not played since November, and we'll see one of the other goalkeepers in play there. But like I say, they're no mugs, that's for sure. And it will be I think it will be a tough trip for Newcastle to travel all that distance for the game. But over the 2 legs, I think the Newcastle do have enough to put them through comfortably. Players missing for Newcastle, obviously the job is more difficult. Bruno, as we know, is out long term, 8 to 10 weeks or so. Joe Linton, I guess, probably doesn't make the trip, but I think there was a comment in what's going on last night that suggested that he may go. And the original prognosis of Lewis Miley was that it was a dead leg and they were taking things day by day. But I think that we've seen that upgraded, or I guess downgraded to muscle damage, so he could be missing for a little bit longer now, which is really frustrating because he was developing really, really well again and really starting to look the part. Obviously, Tino is still missing, as of Fabian Schär and Emil Kraft. And outside of that, I think Newcastle have everybody else to call on if needed. But there is the small matter of a trip to the Etihad at the weekend on Saturday night. And will Eddie Howe want to try and hold some of those players back for that game and for the return leg next week? So could we see the likes of Elanga and Wissa brought into the game to allow others to a little bit more freshness and return for the weekend and for Tuesday's return leg at St James's Park? Result-wise, now this is where Chris normally gets the result right. I'm dreadful at predictions. I think for fans, I think it's easy to think that Newcastle could travel, score a few goals and come back home with a comfortable result. But I do think Qarabag will put up a fight, and they've shown that they can mix it with some of Europe's best. Like I say, especially the 2-2 draw with Chelsea, I think is a really good result. However up and down Chelsea have been. But ultimately, I think Newcastle come away from this with a good result from their epic journey east, and probably a close 2-1 win, maybe a score draw. I think if I was a betting man, I'd probably go with a score draw, and that's not a bad result. It's really not a bad result because I think home advantage next week clinches the tie for Newcastle and sees them through comfortably to play either Barcelona or Chelsea in the last 16 in March. But what do you think? How do you think Eddie Howe will approach the game? Do you think he'll go as full strength as possible to try and put the tide out of sight on Wednesday night? Or will he rest some players in anticipation of the City game and the return leg next week? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments along with your score predictions. And remember to drop a like on the video. Consider subscribing as well as we do head towards that next milestone of 13,000 subscribers. We're closing in on 12,700, I think it is now. And your support has been absolutely incredible. So thank you again for all of your support. Chris will be back with you on post-match duties tomorrow evening. It is an earlier one, so it's a 5:45 kickoff. So we'll be on probably around 7:45. Injury time, depending on how much injury time there is. Like I say, in the meantime, you can catch up with Monday Night's What's Going On, where we discuss Bruno's absence, players stepping up in his place, and the continued comments from the press around supporters and the divide that some of that has caused, plus the ongoing financial battle Newcastle have trying to break into that pre-FFP group. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching, guys. Hope you all have a great day wherever you are in the world. Take care, and we'll look forward to tomorrow night's game. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.